Hey, welcome back to my podcast, Her Restored Spirit, and I cannot wait to share today's episode with you. Before I dive in and tell you more and share some more of my heart, let me ask for a favor. If you listen to this podcast and you get something out of it, would you consider giving me a 5-star rating and review? This is how the podcast gods decide who to suggest the podcast to. And so if you could do that, that would be really helpful. And if you, for a bonus, if you want to share it with somebody who you know could benefit from it, please do that. It would mean a lot to me. I read all of the reviews because I like to know what resonates with you. What are you listening to? Why are you listening to it? And how can I serve you better? How can we do life together better? So with that, let's dive in. Hey, welcome to Her Restored Spirit podcast. My name is Tammy and I'm your host. And today's episode, I just want to talk about this past week. I just want to talk about some of the insights that I've had, some of the conversations I've had, some of the things that I want you to know. Okay, where do I start? First, let's talk about core values. So I started this talk about the core values, the core beliefs that we hold and how they actually play a part in how we're seen, who we are, decisions we make. The core values that we hold determine so much of our life, and we don't take time to actually define them. We all take for granted that we hold core values. A lot of them, and I would have said, I was like, yes, faith and family, honesty, integrity, those are my core values. And it's true. But what does it mean to you? What do those words mean to me? And how do they play a part in my life? So we go about, and there's so many things. I talk with moms and women all the time. And the common theme is we are existing. We are managing our lives. We are not fully embracing and living our life. Knowing our core values helps us embrace and live our whole life. Have you sat down and asked yourself about what your core, what do you to the core believe? What is your driving force? When push comes to shove, what will you stand on your hill for? I discovered when I was getting ready for this workshop, so this workshop that I had on core values that was a few days ago, it is for my Discover You membership community. So in this community, I've talked about it a little bit, and this is a program that's here to stay. I am so excited about it because the things that I have heard over the last several years and over a decade that I have been working in this field is I don't have time. There's so much information. I don't know my next step. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm anxious. I don't know what to do. I'm numb. I have these desires, but I don't know what to do with them. I have ambition, sure, but I'm a mom and I've got to take care of my kids. Like these are all things and questions that I have been hearing. And I get this question a lot of like, how do you do it all? And I'm like, I don't do it all. Like I do all that I want, but the key is I don't do everything. I don't have everything, but I do what matters to me. And this idea of the core values, this core values are what it all stems for. So this membership, this monthly membership is basically a community of women who we are saying yes to ourselves. And we're going to take small areas of our life and make small actions, small steps forward to discovering who we are and how God created us to be which will lead to greater impact, greater ambition. We will have more of a sense of confidence and identity, and we will stop managing and existing through our lives and craft it, curate it, love it, get excited about it, show our kids that it's worth getting older, that it's worth being an adult, and that discovering and understanding who you are is a crucial part to seeing what your purpose is, how God created you, what you're put on this earth to do. Because another one that I discovered for a core value is meaning. Things mean a lot to me. I look to see what is the purpose. It's not just that good enough that I do the action. I want to know the meaning behind it. I want to know that there's a stronger why than just doing it. And so when you're discovering these core values, we'll have these words like faith and meaning and family and integrity and wealth and improvement. And all of these are great. And we know a formal definition for all of them. But when we don't take a step to define them for ourselves, when we don't take a step to define them in the light of everything we've been through, all the things that we are doing in our life, all of the things that we want from life, all of the things that are important to us, if we don't define them and create the statement for ourselves, it's not personal. And we just are taking for granted that we know what it means. Another one of my core values I discovered is privacy. To give you another context of once I started to define it for myself, things fell into place and I realized, wow, this is really important to me. I grew up in a military household. Think OPSEC was on our posters, was on our one channel we had. Those were we had the codes of conduct for the Air Force, Think OPSEC, and there a couple other things about the Air Force, some propaganda. Those were our ads, those were our commercials that we listened to. Operational security, knowing where you are, keeping things private, not letting people put two and two together for information. It's I know who's around me. I have an awareness of my surroundings wherever I am. I know if a car has made two turns with me, I know where they are. I know that's a little crazy, but that's just from my life. That's from the experiences that I've had and from my time in the desert, like in Iraq and in, it's those you have to be aware. And so this core value of privacy. So how does it lend itself to what I'm doing now? Because I'm not in danger. There's no physical threat on my life. And yet I still have this need for privacy. And I realize that really what has turned into is not every experience is for everyone, and not everyone is for every experience. The social media where everything is shared online, I don't like that. And here I am as a coach, and I have an online business that you really kind of need to know me to know if you want to work with me. You kind of need to know a little bit about my story and know what I've done. So you have that, that know, and that, so you can actually trust what I'm saying is going to help you. So you have to resonate, right? You have to get to know me, which is one reason why I started this podcast in the first place. So you can get to know my heart and why I do the things I do. And so again, privacy, what is that all about? And it's realizing that I had some feels about putting things on social media about the kids and I, about my family, about some of the things that we were doing or our experiences. It's one of those things, it's well, I would tell you when we're in person or when I get to know you. It's not that I want to keep things and hiding it. It's just that I would much rather get to know you on a personal level and then share. And as you're telling me about yourself, and I can tell about myself. And it's like, okay, now I see why it's hard for me to post on social media. So how do I rectify that? How do I how do I blend that with my need for privacy and still being open to share? If I did not take the moment to define that for myself, then I still would not know what my issue is. I would not know why. And so I tell you this because I really would like to encourage you to discover your core values. We have like 2 more weeks of May. If you join the membership now, you get access to this workshop that I just did. It will be there and you can do that. And you can join the community and start talking about these little steps that when we discover who we are, what's important to us, why we do the things we do, and then it starts to things the overwhelm starts to dissipate. The anxiety about what we need to do becomes less because we see, oh, this is why. We are being stuck and not being able to see our next step. That goes away too because we can clearly see, okay, I don't need to step 10 steps. I don't need to see that. I just need to do one thing. I need to define this word for myself. And then that leads to something else, and which leads to something else. And so it can be easy. But when we're talking about core values, we're talking about who we are. It's the foundation of what we stand for. It's what we want our kids to know about us. And I mentioned before that it's hard now. Like now that they're older, we can't really tell them anything. They are experts. They know how the world works. But they're watching what we do. They're seeing the decisions we make and seeing and asking themselves if they line up based on what their limited worldview is. We're mentoring, we're modeling. And also, there's a lot of times they're like, why can't I? Why can't I do this? And now that I have those definitions of this is what I believe, and this is why I believe it, and this is what I want for you. They may not like the answer, but at least now they have information. They can see my heart. They can see that it's not, my whole goal is not to make them miserable, which last night, that is what I was told at midnight when I asked my son to stop playing on his phone, that he knows that it was past electronic check-in time. He said, my whole goal in life is to make him miserable, and I do a fantastic job at it. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. But today, when we had our conversation about it, and I was like, listen, I was like, sleep is important. You having hobbies outside of video games is important. And this is why. These are the values that I hold and I want to teach you. As they are discovering what their values are, if I'm able to portray what mine are, they can see at least why I do what I do. Whether they understand it or they like it, moot point. Or as Joey on Friends, it's a moo point. But it will give us that sense of, no, I can stand firm in this because I know why it's important to me. So that is one of the things that I wanted to share today. And I'm actually going to have to stop this one and start another podcast because I have more to share. But I also don't want this to be more than, it doesn't need to be an hour-long podcast. So this podcast is about the idea of this core values. If you don't know what you stand for, then how do you know? How do you know where your boundaries are? How do you know what to fall on your sword for? How do you know which direction you're going? How do you have that foundation of knowing that the decisions I make have meaning and purpose? That they're not just for today's like momentary pleasure, or it is actually a core decision that I can make over and over and over until it's set in stone, until others realize that, oh no, that's her boundary. This is what she stands for. So that's all I have for you today. I would love to see you in my membership group. I want to spend time with you and get to know your story and help you see that you have meaning and purpose, that your identity is so crucial. You've got to uncover it for the good of your family. And it's not selfish. It's actually the most selfless thing you can do. Because when you know why God and like how he wired you and what your purpose is, you're able to talk about what you see in your kids and show them like this is the way God made me because I see the way he made me and the why the first part of my life I was very much a get it done, push through and get it done because I would not be where I am today if I did not have that mentality. I see why my late husband, he was like, "Well, you can handle it, just get it done." And not in a way that he wouldn't. I mean, he was a really great husband. But there's times that I'm like, "I don't want to do it. Can you just do it? Like just take care of it." And he's like, "Well, I knew you could handle it, so I just left it for you. Just take care of it. Just make it happen." And I see the meaning behind that because God was preparing me for what I was about to walk through. And so if I had a husband who took care of everything for me, which I know happens a lot, that I will take care of the kids in the house and you take care of the finances and the work stuff. We have those roles. I would not be where I am today. And I would not be able to have the strength to tell you this is the way. Here's an idea. This is how you can do it. It's so funny. It's so funny how things change. And if you don't take the time to really look at them, analyze them, meditate on them, reflect on where you were, where you are, and where you want to be, we miss out. And those core values are the anchor, the foundation. Those are the things that we can hold on to when we have no idea what's happening. So if I haven't proven to you yet that you need to know your core values, like DM me and let's talk. I will give you more reasons why you need to have some core values and you need to write them down and stop taking it for granted that you know what they are. I did not know what my core values are until I did this exercise, until I sat down and intentionally worked through it. I intentionally looked at them and then decided, oh no, that's actually not. Like start racking and stacking and seeing what they are. So I encourage you to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, asking yourself these questions and stop taking things for granted. It's going to change your life. It's going to start showing you who you are and what's more important than that. God thought it was so important that you're here that he created you. And you're here for a reason. You're here and you have influence whether you want it or not. You have impact whether you want it or not. So why don't we impact and we use our influence in a positive way? Why don't we show others? It's not that we have it all together and that we are good at what we do. It's that we're not willing to give up on ourselves or the people around us. All right, with that, I would love for this, if you are new to this Discover You process, if you don't know who you are, what your next step, you feel this shift, this change in season, and you want to discover, like identity. If you want to know who you are and how God created you, I have a resource for you. Go onto my website, tammymariecoaching.com. It's right there on the front page. It's right at the top. Click the button, get it. And I guarantee that you work through that. Give yourself some time and you will see clearer. It's easy, I promise. It's not a lot of work, but it is going to take intentional time. But do that. If you have any questions, reach out to me. DM me on Instagram or Facebook and let's chat. All right, friend, with that, choose joy till joy chooses you. Bye.